1.
Ha-Wah, the Mishnah Torah, the Book of Precepts, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot. They said it was written by Moses. Which one? Which Moses? They said it was written in the 1200s. Which Moses? You know, they also say this book was written in the 700s. Which Anan ben David? Moses Maimonides, he completed the commentary on the Mishnah at the age of 33. Here we go. After which he began his magnum opus, the Code of Jewish Law, on which he also labored for 10 years, bearing the name Mishnah Torah, the Torah reviewed. And written in a lucid Hebrew style, the code offers a brilliant systemization of all Jewish law and doctrine. He wrote 2 other works in Jewish law of lesser scope, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Book of Precepts, a digest of law for the less sophisticated reader. Now you're going to read how sophisticated this is, and just know that this Moshe wrote this to be less sophisticated. I mean, he wrote this for the less sophisticated reader. So just imagine what the real thing was hitting for. Just imagine what the real Sefer Ha-Mitzvot was hitting for. If this is for the less sophisticated reader, oh boy. So they said already it was written in Hebrew. It was also written in Arabic. And the Hilkah Ha-Hesh Yerushalmi, Laws of Jerusalem, a digest of the laws of Palestinian Talmud written in Hebrew. So you're going to see a lot of drop coming from this Moses Maimonides, man. Maimonides also wrote a number of minor works. And we were digging on this Moses, man, this Moshe. In 1233, one zealot, Rabbi Solomon of Montpellier in southern France, instigated the church authorities to burn the Guide for the Perplexed as a dangerously heretical book. So his books were being burned, but the controversy abated after some time, and Maimonides came to be recognized as a pillar of the tradition of faith. What faith? We're talking about the laws of the Creator. His creed became part of the Orthodox liturgy as well as the greatest of the Jewish philosophers. He was known as the greatest of these Jewish or these Hebrew philosophers. Now, you know, if we're talking 1200s and 1100s, man, you already know who was rocking at that time. So don't tell me we were having some fabulous Jewish philosopher in the 1100s and 1200s when you already know that the Hebrews were in full effect. King David was in full effect. And are we just talking Dawid? At the end of the day, Anan ben David. Like I said, there's a lot of comparisons when you dig on the Moshes in between the timelines and the Davids, Anan ben Davids and all that. These are just titles, right? Dawids are just titles, man. Moshes are just titles. So this Maimonides' epic-making influence on Judaism extending also to the larger world. His philosophical work translated into Latin influenced the greatest medieval scholastic writers and even latter thinkers such as Dutch Jewish philosopher Benedict and Spinoza. And so all these guys, everybody was influenced. Everybody was influenced by what was popping with this Sefer Ha-Mitzvot and all these works regarding this Torah. Now, is it being reviewed or is it being, kicked? Is it being viewed? Is it being reviewed or viewed? Is this a phantom, a duplication again? Again, man. Get this drop because we did some very thorough recon previously in the Presta series, man. We picking up in Presta John number 50, but we're just covering some beautiful tracks along the way, man. All right, so 50's coming in hot. We dug on Moses Anan, Maimon, Sefer Ha-Mitzvot. All right, get all the drop because we put a lot of links. We got very, very linky for this particular drop. And really all these priest king investigations, Hosea 3 and 5. Hosea 3 and 5. We search for our Hawa, we return. We seek our Hawa and David, right? And we say, well, which one? Who wrote these laws, man? We're just talking about a priest king flow. Did they kind of separate the priest and the king and form two different entities, one as a priest and one as a king? One you got this David popping off, and one you got this priest Moshe popping off. Is it all one thing? But we ask these questions because of stuff like this that pops up. See, because this Moses ben Maimon, also known as Rambam, 1135-1204, right? The Prester John letter was written when? 1165? Genghis Khan wrote up on Prester John when? 1202? Ain't it all happening? Physician, philosopher, rabbinic authority. So you have a Khan popping off in this time. He's not just some Jewish philosopher, man. You have a Khan popping off. Was a towering figure, this Moshe in the 12th century. Figure in the world of Hebrew scholarship, even before he composed the halakhic masterpiece. Okay. So you got a lot of drop. These are links you can dig on. We've been digging on it. Mishnah Torah, Review of the Torah, conceived as an all-inclusive halakhic compendium, a guide to the entire system of Hebrew law. Maimonides was explicit about his reasons for undertaking an encyclopedic work of such magnitude. He noted the trials and tribulations of life in the diaspora had deprived scholars and laymen alike of the ability to understand and assimilate the vast Talmudic literature and the central rulings of the Genium, the leaders of Babylon and North African Jewry, the leaders. So we're just talking about the exilarchs. He wanted to spark the exilarchs. When I think exilarchs, I start digging on Anan ben David. Founder of Karaism, they say. And it's interesting when you talk Anan ben David and you see you have this circa, somewhere around the year 700s, because we kind of caught him slipping, in that series right there. Get the drop, man, get the drop, because we caught the hijack slipping again. Because Anan ben David, come on, man, flourished 8th century, so what's that? 700s, circa 715, 700s. Founder of the Ananites, huh? We're talking Anion, the anti-rabbinical order from which the still existing Karaite religious movement developed. So they were anti whatever was being considered rabbinical. And this, when you recount it, this was the hijack. They were anti what the hijack was pumping out. Anan seems to have been prominent in the 760s when he competed with his younger brother for the office of exilarch. The what? Head of the Jews of the Babylonian exile. What did we just get over here? So you got this. He noted the trials and tribulations of life in the diaspora had deprived scholars and laymen, so his people were being deprived of the ability to understand and assimilate the vast, they say Talmudic literature, but the vast drop, right, in the essential rulings of the leaders of Babylon, the leaders of Babylon, the leaders of Babylon, the leaders of Babylon are the exiles. Heads of the Jews of the Babylonian exile. The office was hereditary because it was passed down from what? David to David, son of David, son of David. And I'm asking you, man. Is this same Maimonides, man? Is this same Maimonides? Is he also a son of David? If you understand the function of the title Dawi or Prester John, is the function, right? So this title predates what we think of as King David. This Dawi, this function predates a man. You see what I'm saying? You got Melchizedek, priest king. This function predates a single man being born on this time. This function got no time. So they're all would be sons of Dawu, because Maimonides is writing the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, right? Moses Maimonides is writing the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, the book of the commandments or the precepts or the book of the law, which Maimonides actually wrote some years earlier in preparation for drafting his code. Whoa, Moses got a code. In Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Maimonides enumerates the traditional 613 mitzvot of the Torah, dividing them into positive and negative precepts and elaborating upon the rationale behind his system of classification. So this is the investigation we're on, whether you're digging on, some part of it or not. You just want to get the drop. I'm just giving you an intro as I'm about to actually read the entire Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, not all in one part, but I'll get a few here a little, there a little. We'll keep this series going. This is just part one. But, whenever you want to, explain to somebody what we're doing or, this particular document, just bring them back to part one so they can get some of this drop. And, definitely refer them to this drop right here, Prester John number 46, man. And we coming in hot, man. We coming back hot. So, in talking about the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, we about to get that. Again, they're breaking it down into 613 laws. Now, you can look at our 613 laws like the traditional way that we've been taught. We got 613 laws, right, throughout the Torah. And you can add them up, however you've been taught to add them up, right? What's interesting is that he's going to break these laws down, and it's almost as if he's taking the 10 Commandments and breaking the 10 Commandments into 613 codes. And that got us thinking, did Moshe come down the mountain with a tablet full of 10 Commandments, Or did he come out with tablets full of 613? And we've been given a shortened version, in our religion, in the 10 Commandments. Was it really 613? Not just in the way of, let me add up all the laws of the Torah, from this to that, but in this particular fashion that he breaks it down. I mean, was this the OG way of looking at the 613 is all I'm saying. Was the 613 traditionally broken down? Pull up all these links. The Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, was it traditionally broken down into 248 positive commandments and 365 negative commandments. And you'll see the negative commandments are more like thou shalt not do that. And the positive commandments are more like thou shalt do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like literally negative. It's just saying what not to do. And this is telling you what to do. So they call it positive and negative. But add up 248 and 365, you'll get 613. And that's a different way of breaking down at least the sum, the summary, the culmination of the 613. I've never been taught that in the framework of Moses Maimonides. You dig? But, like that link we were just getting, he was supposed to be one of the greatest of all time. Was a towering figure in the world of Hebrew scholarship, even before he composed his masterpiece. Ranks among the greatest and most innovative Hebrew text of all time. So this is only the first one we're going to dig on. We might continue to dig on Maimonides' works as no one's talking about it, since it's only popping up in our investigation. We're just looking for the phantoms and duplications, and we're running into this Moshe. We said, is this a duplication? Because for some reason, although they say that this work is being put out in the 1200s. Oh yeah, these are, look at all these other books, man. Sefer Ha-Madah, the Book of Knowledge. Sefer Ha-Ava, Hawa, the Book of Love of God. Sefer of Hawa, the Book of Hawa covers prayers and blessings. Sefer Zamani, the Book of Seasons, devoted to the Sabbaths and the real feast. Sefer Nashim, the Book of Women, dealing with family law, marriage, divorce. Kadusha, the Book of Holiness, which includes sexual prohibitions and dietary laws. We got diet laws right here in the Kadusha. Huh? The Hafla'ah, the Book of Utterances, treats subjects such as oaths and vows. You got the Zarim, Book of Seeds, which deals with agricultural law and other commandments effective in the land of Israel. Okay, you got your seeds, man. Agriculture. You got your Awada, the Book of Temple Service, focused on temple worship. Book of Korbano, Book of Sacrifices, dealing with the laws of sacrificial offerings. The Torah Ra, Book of Purity, which is devoted to the rules governing ritual purity. Nazakin, the Book of Damages, which focuses on property damages and personal injury. The Book of Kinyan, Book of Acquisition, which deals with property rights, includes sections on sales, neighborly relations, and partnerships. The Mishpatim, the Book of Civil Laws, which includes hiring, borrowing, loaning, and inheritance. The Shofatim, the Book of Judges, which covers the legal system, the political system, and mourning. Managas, Moses wrote many books covering the codes on all types of things. Did we only get a shortened, dumbed-down version of 10 Commandments, or was it 613 broken down specifically that covered the breadth of what the 10 Commandments are breaking down, but broken down even more specifically? But they even said, oh, well, this is just, for the layman. This is just for the layman. He wrote 2 other works in lesser scope. All right, it's supposed to be of lesser scope, a digest of law for the less sophisticated reader. I'm just saying, my nuggets. If Maimonides is kicking this out in the 1200s, if Maimonides is kicking out the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot Book of Precepts in the 1200s, then why does it say right here in 770, Anan, talking about who? Anan ben David. In 770, Anan wrote the definitive code of his order, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot Book of Precepts. And we said, whoa. Oh boy. We're just talking David. Who wrote the code? Because everyone gonna say Moses wrote the code. Which one? Which one? Who wrote the code? Anan ben David wrote the code. The same Sefer Ha-Mitzvot. Now you gotta ask yourself, my Nagi, does that mean David also wrote all these other laws, codes, books too? Anan ben David? We're just talking about the same person. Will the real writer, author of the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot please stand up? You tell me. Is it Anan ben David who wrote the definitive code of his order, Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Book of Precepts? Or, you tell me, did Moshe Maimonides write the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Book of Precepts? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. 1135, 1204, Moses ben Maimon. And you start digging on Maimons, right? And we start comparing that to Amram and, these other connections that we got with Moshe. And then we start connecting this Moshe, the same Moshe, the same Maimonides. Moses Maimonides, right? Now he was born of Rambam. Yeah. Right. So either this is Moses ben Maimon, and then I think he has a son that, that's why I started digging on this Rambam Amram connection, man. I mean, we can really, dig further, but, I'm going to say that for the Prester investigation. I just want to lead you to the water. I mean, it's interesting, man. You know what I mean? So then you can start, flipping the timelines, but you got this Maimonides, Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, 613 laws, man. We're just talking about the exilarchs, right? The leaders of Babylonia. We're talking exile, North African Hebrew exile. Oh boy. So that's interesting, man. So you got this whole situation popping off 12th century, 13th century, around the same exact text. Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Book of Commandments, and you got the same situation popping off in 770. But now it's Anan writing the code. Anan ben David writing the code. Same code. Same code. And this is why we seek, and this is why we search. If you want to know what the Prester John investigation is all about. It's an investigation to look in between the timelines, to find out when and who wrote the code, to bob and weave the hijack at all time, and to continue to seek and to continue to search for what Hawa told us to search for, because Hawa never told the tribe to wake up one day and search for Jesus. Hawa never told the tribe to wake up one day and search for Muhammad. Hawa did say, when we're talking Joshua or Hosea, for the children of Israel, because hey, the Lord said unto me, right? So Hawah did say, for the children of Israel shall sit in solitary many days without a king, without prince, sacrifice, without pillar, without ephod or teraphim, and afterward. Here's what Hawah did say we will search for when we finally wake up and return to our Creator. Afterward shall the children of Israel return and seek Hawah, right? Hawah, right? And David, their king, their Khan, their priest king. We seek Prester John because we are told or prophesied that we will seek David, because he's all in between the timelines. He's in the 700s, he's in the 1200s, he's in the BCs. In many ways, he is writing the code. He is the Moshe. The Prester John, the Dawid is the Moshe. Broken up in different stories, in different ways. Remember, Moses was king of Cush for 40 years in the book of Jasher. So him being a king should not be anything new. And you know he's a priest. And you know David is a priest. He was anointed by Hawah. Love to Yosef the Real for bringing so much of that out. So we continue to seek. We continue our Prester John, which means priest king investigation, because we know that we're fulfilling, we're observing our priesthood unraveling, becoming clearer. We're about to get to Prester John number 50, man. And we keep going to 60. Rest in power. The real one, Nipsey Hussle. We're doing it for the streets. We're doing this Prester John for the streets. We're putting all the energy of the Prester John investigation directly into the streets, because we're talking about the priesthood, the Khan. The Khan of Khans. The Khan of Khans, man. This Khan was a Kara Katai. Kara, Katai. Katai is Cathay. Cathay, where's Cathay? We're talking China, right? We're talking America. It means pure land. Cathay, Katai is a pure land. The 13th century author is modernizing these Katai. Kara Katai lived in certain hills through which I passed. Hey, we're just talking about the Nestorians, right? The Kara Katai Gurkhan Yeludashi described on the death of Khan, the emperor of the Lao dynasty. This Nestorian proclaimed himself a king, and Nestorians called him King John, saying 10 times more about him than was consistent with the truth. Maybe they just didn't find the drop. Maybe they only found 10% of the drop. When you dig on the priest king, you cut through the Mongols, you cut through the BS, right? You get to the Georgies, the Gengises, the King George, who's now trying to take the Khan. We continue to seek through the timelines, man. Afterwards shall the children of Israel return, seek Hawah, their power, and Dawid, their Khan. And they shall come trembling, not in fear, in respect, in reverence, in obedience. Do you want your children running around scared when you come home, or do you want them truly humbled by your presence, by the law that you put down? They shall come trembling unto Hawah, into his goodness in the end of days. When? The end of days. So in the end of days, you're seeking Hawah. In the end of days, you're seeking David. In the end of days, you're seeking David. And you're saying, what's going on in 770? What Anan ben David? Writing the definitive code of his order, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Book of Precepts. You say, what's going on with this family, this Maimon family? What's really going on with this Moshe in the 12th century? What's going on with Prester John writing a letter in the same century, 12th century, 1165, and Genghis Khan and Prester John going to war in 1202? This can't be no different, man. And now you know that this Moshe is David, because they're writing the same law, the same code. Something's being hidden from us, people. Again, did Moshe come down with 10 commandments, or did Moshe come down with all 613, 248 positive, and 365 so-called negative, right? Genie.com got a lot of drop when you know what to dig for. Rabbi Moshe ben Maimonides, they put him when? 1138. So he's writing the code, right? He's writing the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, right? What about this genie? Anan ben David, founder of Anan, the Ananites, and Kara. Kara means black in Turkic. So when you put it all together with the Kara and the Katai, when you got the Kara Katai, you got the black or the copper color, the black red, the people, the black red, connected to this pure land, this Cathay, this pure land. So you got the copper color Ame'rican in the promised land, connected to the promised land, of the promised land. That's your Kara Katai, your Cathay, or like they like to play around and say Kara-ism. Son of Yahudi, or we're just talking about a son of Judah, David. This ain't no play, because this same Anan wrote the code. The same code, man. The same code. And this is the code we're going to dig on. So whether you're going to dig on it from a Moshe Maimonides perspective or from a David perspective, it's all one and the same. Because we're seeking the priest king, the Preston. You're seeking Hawa first. And in doing that, you get linked to an investigation. And you start seeking Dawi. And we will be picking up in number 50 in our search for the priest king. Hawa. We're just talking the Prince of Babylonian exile, which will make you an exilarch. Exile ark. Got it? David, Babylon. We're just talking the Prince of Babylonian exile. Now, there's a report on this David, and they're going to say descendant of the Israelite King David, and we have to say, or are you talking David? A well-known traveler, Benjamin of Tudela, having visited Asia, reports about the Prince of the Babylonian exile, a descendant of the Israelite King David. His authority has spread to all of the Jews of the Orient, Shinar, Persia, Khorasan, Sheba. His authority is spread. Oh man, it's all spreading because it's all happening. And you got Benjamin of Tudela around the same time period running into these descendants or these Davids, man. And suddenly you're trying to tell me it don't matter. Suddenly it don't matter. Suddenly it don't matter to search for Hawa, to seek Hawa and David, your priest king. In the end of days, man, like I said, the investigation continues to seek the priest king. We connect the Moshe vibe, we connect the code. So now that we got some backdrop on it again, later somebody say, what you digging on this Sefer Ha-Mitzvot? You say, man, check out part 1 and surf the wave, man. So, you know how we doing. We're going to get a few. Oh, yeah. We're going to fall back. We're going to get a few. We're going to get like 10 and 10. Eventually, we'll just be doing all the so-called negative commandments. Again, they're not negative. They're just saying what, thou shalt not do this. You know what I mean? It's all positive. It's all positive. 613, add them up, 248, 365. So we're going to do the first 10 on the positive tip. Let's go. Oh, I just heard somebody say it too. I heard y'all, man. Let me go over here, man. Wow. You said drop. Where's the water? We need that water so we can read these mishvahs, right? Mishpah. All right. Remember, man, every 9 minutes you gotta tell me. Drop. Refresh their water, because the tribe needs the water. All right, let's go. Yeah, all right. The first mitzvah is that we are commanded to acquire knowledge of the nature of Hawa's existence. Wow. Now we're going to get into it, but you think the first commandment is what? Don't put no power before your power, right? Okay, well, let's get a little deeper. Let's go a little deeper than that. The first law is that we are commanded to acquire knowledge of Hawa's existence. Afterwards shall the children of Israel return and seek and search and acquire knowledge of their Hawa, their creator, their power. Don't you see? Hawa's putting us in order. You've been doing it. You haven't just accepted some religion. You said, let me seek. Let me get my orientation. Let me get my vibration. Let me dig on it from an Ame'rican perspective. Let me crystallize with the tribe. Because we are the children that are returning and seeking the Creator and David. And that's the first mitzvah, right? That's the first law. That we are commanded to acquire knowledge of Hawa. You seek Hawa. To understand that he is the original cause and source of existence who brings all creations into being. The source of this commandment is Hawa's statement, exalted be he, I am Hawa, your power. We see that this commandment is included in the total of 613 from the end of the tractate Makos, which states 613 commandments were given to Moshe at Sinai. From which verse do we see this? The Torah, which was commanded to us by Moshe. This indicates that the number of mitzvot or laws which Moshe commanded us equals the numerical value of the word Torah. Ain't that something? The number of laws that Moses commands us is equal to the number of the word Torah, the numerical value of Torah. The gematria or gemara then asks, but is this the proper numerical value? It only totals 611. The answer was given. The two commandments, I am Hawa, your power, and do not have any gods, were heard from Hawa directly and not through Moses. They are therefore not alluded to in the Torah, the word Torah in this verse, which refers only to those 611 laws that were given through Moshe. Mitzvos, right? So this is deep, man, deep water. So when they say how many laws did Moses bring? 613, not 611. Because the two commandments, I am Hawa, your power, and do not have any other gods, were heard directly from Hawa. It is included, however, in the total 613. It is clear from this passage that I am Hawa, your power. Knowledge, i.e. knowledge of Hawa, is explained above, is counted as one of the 613 laws or mitzvahs. All right. Number 2, let's go. The second mitzvah is that we are commanded to acquire knowledge of the nature of Hawa's unity. You see how it's broken down? It's not like, oh, know your creator. Don't put another power before your power. Don't put another God before your God. Don't make no images. They're going to get into all that. He's going to get into all that thoroughly. And remember, this is a translation. It was written in Hebrew. It was written in Arabic too. So we lost a lot in translation already. We know that. Dodge the hijack at all costs. Drop nation. So the second mitzvah is that we are commanded to acquire knowledge of Hawa's unity. To understand that the Hawa, original creator and source of all existence, is one. Your framer and your shaper are one in one house. The source of this commandment is Hawa's statement, exalted be he. Hear, understand, overstand. O Israel, Hawa is our power. Hawa is one. Right? In most midrashim, you will find this mitzvah described in the context of Hawa's statement that a certain kindness was done to the Jewish people, the Hebrews, on condition that they unify my name. Unify my name. Interesting, huh? On condition that they unite me. What does it mean? They mean to say that Hawa took us out of bondage and heaped kindness upon us upon condition that we have his unity firmly fixed in our minds, since we are required to do so. From this we see that knowledge of his unity is an actual requirement and is therefore counted as one of the 613 commandments. In many places, the expression is used, the mitzvah of his unity, the word mitzvah, also indicating that this counts as one of the 613 commandments. Our sages also call this mitzvah kingdom, saying that the paragraph Shema is read before Vahaya in order to accept upon oneself the yoke of the kingdom of heaven, to acknowledge and comprehend his unity. Wahaya, huh? Back to that H1961, that heya, the heya, right? And then you keep it going. Just like they keep changing these V's, right? All these V's. Oh, y'all gotta tell me, man. I need some more water. Drop Nation got the water. Let's go. Oh, man, we're getting linky around here, man. We are getting linky. So they keep changing these V's, and these V's are really W's. It's like these Y's were originally W's. But you see all this connection. So the second positive commandment is to acquire knowledge of Hawa's unity. And again, keep thinking about the unity of the frame and the shaper, and how they split the frame and shaper apart. You got the mother, a duplicate mother wisdom over there, and you got a duplicate, Abba, father over there, so you gotta put it all together. You gotta put wisdom, Shekinah, you gotta put mama in with Abba. You got your frame and your shape. You got your Ha and you got your Wa. The Go, which is one. Number 3, the third mitzvah is that we are commanded to love Hawa, to meditate upon and closely examine his laws, mitzvahs, his commandments, his work, in order to understand him, and through this understanding to achieve a feeling of ecstasy. Are y'all feeling this, man? I mean, this is the 613 laws of Moses broken down like you've never heard before. The saying, just don't put a power before your power. This is Number 1, acquire knowledge of Hawa. Number 2, acquire unity, knowledge of the unity of Hawa. Number 3, meditate upon and closely examine Hawa's laws. Love Hawa. How do you love Hawa? By meditating on his laws. In order that you understand Hawa, and through this overstanding to achieve a feeling of ecstasy. This is the goal of the commandment, to love Hawa. To get the ecstasy. That's the goal of the commandment, is to bring you to the frequency of ecstasy. We can see that meditation is the way to create this feeling of love from the Sefer, from the statement, you shall love Hawa, your power. Can I know how to love Hawa? The Torah therefore says, and these words which I command you today shall be upon your heart, i.e., that through this meditation about his commandments, you will understand the nature of the one who spoke and thereby brought the world into being. From this, it is clear that meditation will lead to understanding, and that a feeling of enjoyment and love will follow automatically, since the second verse explains the way to reach the goal of the previous verse. Our sages also said that this mitzvah includes calling out to all mankind, or all people, to serve the Creator, exalted be He, and to believe in Him. This is because when you love a person, for example, you praise him and call out to others to draw close to him. So too, if you truly love Allah, through your understanding and realization of his true existence, you will certainly spread this truth knowledge that you know to the ignorant and the foolish vibration awareness. We see that this mitzvah includes spreading love for Hawa to others from the Sefer, you shall love Hawa, i.e. make him be loved among the creatures as your father Abraham did, as it is written, the souls that he made in Quran. But we also know the souls he made in Quran also is connected with the Sefer Yetzirah, Love to Natural by Law, who's reading some of that in the ether every Wednesday, 10 o'clock Pacific. Love to KB, who was breaking that down. Hopefully he gets back to that Sefer Yetzirah, which is, it goes real deep on how they spoke, how they were able to speak life and create golems and create people. Did Abraham create souls, literally? Or are we just talking about, spreading the frequency about Hawa? Two different perspectives. The meaning of this Sefer, Abraham, as a result of his deep understanding of Hawa, acquired love for Hawa, as the verse testifies. Abraham, who loved me, this powerful love, therefore, caused him to call out to all mankind to believe in Hawa. So too, you shall love him to the extent that you draw others to him. Now they say, he's going to multiply his seed. So how many golems or people did Abraham create according to the Sefer Yetzirah, the souls he made there? In the Sefer Yetzirah, it's saying that he literally was making people. He made a lot of people at Quran. But through, this pure tongue of the Hebrew he was using to create, more people, for whatever purposes. Now they got that magic and did the same thing, but they created more synthetics, straight up synthetics. And now you got a lot of synthetics around us, that our other Moorish brothers created. But you have, the Hebrews that were, also had this drop. Jacob had this drop, according to the Sefer Yetzirah. Or he's just spreading the good word, right? About Hawa. But clearly, as you're reading this, like what they just told you, since the second verse explains the way to reach the goal of the previous verse, once you get the deeper meditation on all this, they're connecting you to another etheric level. Moshe is over here connecting you to something beyond what's just being read off the page. I think we all can understand that. It's not just about the surface of things all the time. Number 4. The fourth mitzvah is that we are commanded to establish in our minds fear and dread of Hawa. Well, we know it's all in the translations, because normally Hosea 3 would also say, you shall come in fear. Instead, it's translated as trembling unto Hawa. So we know we're not in the fear spell. We're in a humble, obedient, nature that we have with our frame and our shaping. Let's go. So think about it as just coming and trembling. Because you don't want to dread your mother. You don't want to dread your father. So Dodge, the translations is English. That we are not calm and nonchalant, but consistently concerned of imminent punishment for misdeeds. Well, you got to know that mama and daddy will put it down. The biblical source of this commandment is Hawa's statement, exalted be he, you shall fear Hawa, your power, or come in trembling. At the end of Tractate Sanhedrin, there is a discussion of Hawa's statement, exalted be he, anyone who is Nekev, curses Hawa's name shall be put to death. The Talmud asks, perhaps the word Nokev means, why didn't y'all tell me? My water, Drop Nation got the water. Nokev, Hawa's name means merely, I'll say it again, perhaps the verse Nokev, Hawa's name, means merely uttering Hawa's name even without a curse. And if one wonders what prohibition can there be in this, it is the prohibition not to erase one's fear of Hawa, because included in fear of Hawa is not mentioning his name in vain. Again, you could say the same thing with the word respect, right? So they're translating this to fear, right? And we can understand where the relationship we have with our Amma and Abba is that of respect and obedience. Of course, mom and daddy gonna get on your ass imminently for your misdeeds. That's just how it works. But it doesn't mean you're afraid, as in, some type of frequency of fear. It means that you are constantly concerned to obey your mother and your father. Because they're your mother and your father, you should constantly be concerned about their laws, as your children should be constantly concerned about how you feel, about how you put it down. The mentioning of this question, perhaps the verse, Nokev, Hawa's name, means merely uttering Hawa's name even without a curse. All right, so we got that. The Talmud answers this question and rejects this approach as follows. First of all, in order to be punishable by death, the person must have used one name against another, i.e. cursed one of Hawa's names with another of Hawa's names. Did y'all even know that was possible? To curse Hawa's name with another of Hawa's names, as in the saying, let Yossi strike Yossi. And if he merely mentions Hawa's name in vain, he did not fulfill this condition. The Talmud continues. Well, we also know that to take Hawa's name in vain is to speak falsely or swear falsely by the name of the Creator. Oh, Hawa said do that. Hawa said you need to do this to be, in the goods. Hawa said we should go over there and do that. You know what I mean? That's also mentioning the Most High's name in vain or swearing falsely. The Talmud continues, furthermore, the prohibition is stated as a positive commandment and cannot technically serve as a prohibition. This means that the suggestion the prohibition is from the verse, you shall fear Hawa, is incorrect because this verse is a positive commandment and the punishment can never be based on a positive commandment. This passage clearly indicates that you shall fear Hawa is a positive commandment. Well, it's a positive thing to obey your power, your Creator. We're going to get one more of these positives. I know I said 10 and 10. I think I might do 5 and 5 or 5 and 4. Keep it at the 9, you know what I mean? Let's just roll. The fifth mitzvah is that we are commanded to serve Hawa. Blessed be he. This commandment is repeated many times, and you shall serve Hawa, your power, and you shall serve him and to serve him. Although this commandment is of a general nature, as explained in the fourth principle, and apparently should not be included in the account of the 613 mitzvahs, nevertheless, it has a specific quality since it is the commandment to pray. We see that service is not just a general commandment from the following statement. The Sefer says the verse, and to serve him means prayer. The sages also said the verse and to serve him means Torah study. In the Mishnah of Rabbi Eliezer, the son of Rabbi Yossi Hag-Gili, the sages said, what is the biblical source to include prayer among the mitzvot? From the verse, you shall fear Hawa, your power, you shall serve him. They also said, serve him through his Torah, serve him in his temple, This statement, serve him in his temple, means that one's goal should be to pray in the temple or in the direction of the temple, as King Solomon explained. That's one perspective. Or, serving, could mean, that you are taking care of your brother, taking care of your sisters, keeping the water flowing, So, again, don't get caught up in their translations. We're just touching on these 613 commandments in a whole different way, in a whole, brand new perspective. And like I said, so that's 5 positive commandments, so-called positive commandments. Hold on, where's my all right, so there's actually less positives than so-called negatives. All right, so now we know. Next time we'll do 5 and 4 the other way. This time we'll do 5 and 4 this way. So let's get 4 of these negative commandments for the dismounting. You'll see right away we're not just talking negative in that sense, but this is more of the prohibitions. Thou shalt not do that. Before you say, hey, serve your creator, acquire knowledge of your creator, meditate on the unity of your creator. That's what we're getting at the positive commandments. These are the thou shalt nots. All right, so number 1, you already see it, idol worship. Why are you in captivity? Why are we in captivity? Idol worship, man. Let's go. The first prohibition is that we are forbidden from entertaining the thought that there is any deity other than Hawa. Hawa. What about Jesus? But Jesus is God. Jesus is the image of God in Genesis 1:26. We're all Jesus. We're all the seed in the Christ of the woman of enmity, Genesis 3. Wow. Nah, man. There's only one. There's only one Savior. There's only one energy bringing us salvation. And the first prohibition is that we are forbidden from entertaining the thought that there is any other deity other than our Creator. What about the Super Naga? He died for your sins. You should go through him. Abomination. We are forbidden from entertaining the thought that there is any other power. The source of this prohibition is Hawa's statement, although he is so exalted that the term speech cannot really be applied to him. Do not have any other gods before me or beside me. In the end of Makos, it is explained that the prohibition is included among the 613 commandments, as they say there. 613 commandments were given to Moshe at Sinai. We have explained this proof in the first of the positive mitzvahs. Number 2. So even the thought that there's another energy beside the Creator, on the side, other than any of that stuff, even the thought process is the number 1, prohibition, hijack. Even the thought of putting another power beside our power, or going through another power to get to our power. Because the Christians will surely tell you, oh man, if you don't know Christ, you lost, man. You'll never find a career. Oh man, if you ain't digging on Christ, if If it ain't through the body of Christ, you're hellbound, man. I mean, you just don't know the Creator, you know. If it ain't through Christ. He was put on the cross. I'm in a tree. I'm in a cross. I'm in a tree. I'm in a cross. I mean, he was hung on a tree. Just like you and me. Just like you and me. The second prohibition is that we are forbidden from making statues for worship, regardless of whether they are made by a person himself or he asks someone else to make them for him. The source of this commandment is Hawada's statement, exalted be he, do not make for yourselves any statue or image. One who transgresses this prohibition, i.e. makes an idol or asks someone else to make him an idol. See, that's how they try to get around it. All right, can you make me a god? Because I know we're prohibited from making idols, but maybe someone else can make it. One who transgresses this prohibition, who makes an idol or asks somebody else to make an idol for him, is punished with lashes, and even if he did not serve it. He said, but I didn't serve this idol. You still ask somebody to make you an idol, or you still made one. Now it said with lashes. So, some would say death, others would say lashes. Okay, let's go. The third prohibition is that we are forbidden from making an idol even for others to serve, and even at the request of a non-Jew. We say, hey, I'm not a Jew, I'm not a Hebrew. Make me one for my God, because that doesn't fall under your commandment that you can't make a Gentile one. The source of this commandment is Hawada's statement, exalted be he, and do not make gods for yourselves. In the words of the Sefer, the verse, and do not make gods, means that you may not even make them for others. In Sefer, our sages said, one who makes an idol for himself transgresses two prohibitions: the prohibition of making an idol with his own hand, even for others, as explained in his third prohibition, and also the prohibition of acquiring an idol and having it made with his permission, even if someone else made it for him. As we explained previously in the second prohibition, therefore he is punished with two sets of lashes. Damn, man. The details of this mitzvah, as well as the previous one, have been explained in the tractate of Avodah. And again, this Moses Maimonides, or this Anan ben David, right? Anan ben David in 770 wrote the code Sefer Ha-Mitzvot. That's what we're reading. That's what we're reading. Or we're just talking about Anan ben David. Either way. You have all these other, books that were written by Anan ben David or Moses Maimonides or Moshe Dawi, you know what I'm saying? However you want to put it. And when you talk about the laws, I mean, love to the bro. Love to the bro, man. I don't know what Nick be on, because you already know Nick be on. He dropped a real important drop, man, in the choosing community in his premiere, and really his third episode that just dropped. It drops every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Pacific, man. And hey, hi to the bro for joining us in this season 3, doing incredible, man. Just keeping the water flowing along my bro Tech, man. Takum say every Sunday, you know what I'm saying? It's 8 o'clock Pacific on Sunday. My bro Tech comes in hot, man. I mean, these two bros really joined the flow, amazing, and just kept the water flowing tremendously. So I want to give a to the two new Ether Squad members, man, this season. And he brought this up, in his last show, which got me thinking about it. And I said, let's just drop the entire Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, no matter how long it takes. You know, as long as we keep the water flowing is what we got, man. So this is only part one. We'll get a few, as we go. But when it comes to writing the code, man, writing the law and meditating on it, you got this Maimonides, presenting this community flow. This is how you train up your community. Like my bro Nick James, was kicking. This is how you build up your community. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal. Now, when you break it into, more specific explanations, it's not just, don't make yourself an idol, don't make one for anybody else as well. You get specific because this is what a community needs, specific laws, man. So he's not just saying, here's the 10 commandments. He's like, all right, now that you're rocking with that, or he's just saying, this is what it is. This is Moshe, right? This is the 1100s. This is the priest king, right? This is the Presta John. This is the Exalar. This is the Anan bin Dawi. Wow. We're just surfing away. Let's get a little bit more for the dismount. Make sure we refresh our water. Drop Nation got the water. You gotta hit that refresh, man. Y'all keep reminding me, and I appreciate that. Because we gotta keep the water flowing. All right, let's get number 4. We'll get 4 and 5. We'll do 5 and 5 this time, man. We'll keep it like that. Let's go. Because 5 plus 5 is 10, and it brings you all the way back to the 1. And I want to meditate on the unity of Hawaii. The 4 prohibitions is that we are forbidden from making an image of a human being from metal, stone, wood, or anything similar. Make sure you pull all these links up. We're just surfing the wave, Don't make no images. Oh, we're talking about black cries. Yeah, man. Yeah, you got this drop before. Please pull it up. You get it. Like it's the first time. We're just talking about the image, man. The image of El Cristo Negro. This is the super naga, man. This is what got our black souls, man. This combination of David and Joshua and Moses, this super naga. This image. In conclusion, this is a great document, man. Just pull it up. In conclusion, however diverse the original sources of the various devotional images of our Lord of Esquipulas, they're talking about Black Christ. Almost all provide an explanation for the black skin color because they're just bringing this image to the Americas, people. You've never seen it before. They made it look like you first. They made it look like Quetzalcoatl first. And most attributing it to miraculous transformation occasioned by divine will. That this black skin must have been miraculous transformation by the divine will. That's why he's not white. It's a miraculous transformation. Our research indicates that the majority of the acts of miraculous revelation attributed to the Black Christ convey a clear sense of indigenous identity. Yeah. Khan, yeah. When they brought this Black Christ, they made it look like the indigenous ones. The image. Based on our analysis, the figure symbolizes this Black Christ it's a reflection of the condition and fate of the indigenous population. So this Jesus on the cross was originally a Black Christ that they called their Lord of Esquipulalulas. This Black Christ was only a symbol. It wasn't a real person. They created a story around it to symbolize you, to synchronize, to merge and to sync things that have no reason being sync. This is a poo sandwich, man. Did you say check your water? Drop Nation, we got the water. Okay, we good. So let's go. This image we're talking about is symbolizing your condition, your fate of the indigenous population as a suppressed, exploited, multi-ethnic people, Negroes. The Negroes the Indian just found here, who can only find hope in the martyred Christ. So now our brothers can only find hope. Oh, you got to pay attention. Meditate on the crucifixion. Meditate on this black man who was martyred and hung on a tree, who really only symbolizes your condition, indigenous one. You're reading it the other way around. You're backwards pimping. You came before this image. You came before the Black Christ. This Black Christ is a symbol of the indigenous population. It's an image. The suppressed and exploited multi-ethnic people who can only find hope in the martyred crucifixion. Because like them, Like them, he was persecuted. Aren't we persecuted? Like them, he was persecuted by his enemies, who consigned him to the cross or hung him on a tree. Just like you were hung on a tree. The crucifixion, therefore, should be understood as a reflection. Wait a minute. Man, I almost lost my breath on that one, because that's all we're talking about is reflections and duplications and phantoms. Who came first? Black Christ or the indigenous population? They made an image out of this black Yahawashai to symbolize your condition. So now you want to talk to us about a martyred Christ? And we're saying, what about the martyred indigenous population? Spend your time talking about that, dog. Because that is what it's symbolizing when you keep talking Yahawashai and Christ and body of Christ to us, the indigenous. Talk about the real thing, not the reflection. This crucifixion, therefore, should be understood as a reflection. Christ, Black Christ crucifixion is a reflection and Christianized reification of the drama happening on this indigenous population by the Spanish conquest. The Negro drama is all this reification, Christianized reflection is doing when they talk Yahweh Shai, Yeshua, Christ. To us, to the indigenous, we are not the symbol, we are the real thing. We are not the reflection, we are the real thing. We are not the Christianized reification, we are not the drama. We are the indigenous. This is our identity. The Lord's resurrection, oh no, the Black Christ reflected resurrection offers to the indigenous people a symbolic space of resistance. Come on, man. So now you have hope. Now you have a symbolic space. You don't even have real resistance no more. You got a symbol, a symbolic place of resistance. The hope in this Lord. The hope in Black Christ now gives you a symbolic space of resistance. That's an illusion of resistance. That's not real freedom, my naga. That's saying Christ will help us one day. Christ will help us resist. Black Christ, who was only created to symbolize your condition, your fate, indigenous one, who was only a reflection and a Christianized reification. If you're talking Christ to us, you're in a Christianized reification of the Spanish conquest. And this daggone crucifixion offers these Negroes a symbolic space of resistance as well as hope for their own liberation. Now you only symbolically can hope for your freedom. The original syncretism fusing together into a poo sandwich of the what? Image. What are we reading here? The number 4 negative commandment. The 4th prohibition is that we are forbidden from making an image of a human being from metal, stone, wood, or anything similar. How did this image get in our heads? How did this image of Black Christ get in our heads? How did it get syncretized, fused? How did we get fused with the poo sandwich? It's fusion of symbols from pre-Hispanic Mesoamerican as well as Christian imageries, eventually linked to commercial agents. It's on the media, it's on TV, who broadcast the image. Loses meaning when confronted with the ethnic blending that resulted from the Spanish conquest. It loses meaning. It loses the meaning. It loses power. The image loses power when confronting with the indigenous truth. First, indigenous peoples and later people of mixed race, mestizos, symbolically reappropriated the image, making Black Christ their own. Wow, for the freedom of our minds and our bodies and our soul, that we can get out of the reflection into reality of the first indigenous people, which is our ancient love song. And we must stop reappropriating this same doggone image to our people today to tell us to, meditate on the sufferings of the crucifixion of Christ, to go through Christ to get to our Creator, that we are all the body of Christ, this Black Christ. You're making it your own. You're syncretizing into a fusion of poo sandwiches. And we can see clearly that we're not to make any images. And that without these images, it wouldn't even be in your mind. This suffering, this martyred Christ wouldn't even be in your head bone without the image. But first they had to make him look like you to symbolize the condition, the suffering of the indigenous population. We say no to Yahushai, Yahusha, Hamashiach, New Testament, Syncretinized poo sandwich, image. We don't need them symbols. We don't need the Christian imageries. We don't need their imagination. We don't need the reflection or the Christianized reification. We are the indigenous. We don't need a symbolic space of resistance or symbolic hope for our liberation and freedom. We want our identity back, hijack free. Got that water. Drop Nation got that water for the dismount. Ha-Mitzvot.
Ancient exploration. This will be another one of them. We'll bring up some of the other parts here. A letter dated 1577 from Mercator to John D.
That's some drop right there, though. Stockholm. That is some drop right there for another time. Right now, we need our water.
This is London.
Hold up, man. Hijack City. Hijack City. Oh, man. I tell you. These are all some pretty dope instrumentals, though. I mean, if you really want to get Zodi. Had them bumping all day in the neighborhood. Let's get this for the dismount. We are in the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, the book of Anan ben David, who wrote the code, as well as Moses Maimonides. Phantoms and duplications. All one. So we are forbidden from making an image of a human being on a cross, right? From metal, stone, wood, or anything else. Even though it was not made in order to be worshipped, it's supposed to be symbolizing you. The reason for this is to keep us from making any images whatsoever so that we should not entertain the false belief held by the masses. The false belief held by the masses. What do the masses hold? That Black Christ is their own. Body bag, Daniel. Body bag for the illusion. The reason for not making these images is to keep us from making so that we should not entertain the false belief held by the masses, idol worshipers, that these images have supernatural powers. That this Black Christ got supernatural powers, man. Oh, Black Christ, you got to go through Black Christ. He has supernatural powers. You don't know Christ, you ain't going to know Hawa. You ain't going to know the Creator if you don't know Christ. Because he's a supernatural super knocker. Dodge the hijack. Come home directly to your great spirit, directly to your breath of security, your foundational revelation. The source of this commandment is Hawa's statement, blessed be he, do not make a representation of anything that is with me. Do not make for yourselves silver or gold gods. The Mechela explains the prohibition conveyed in the verse, do not make for yourselves silver or gold gods as follow. A person may not say, I will make them for ornamentation, as others do in their lands. Oh, deck the halls, right? Ornaments, right? The Torah therefore says, do not make for yourselves. One who transgresses this prohibition is punished by lashes. The details of this law, this mitzvah, which images are permissible to create and which are forbidden, and in which manner, are explained in the 3rd chapter of Avodah Zarah. That's another drop. It is explained in the Sanhedrin that this prohibition, do not make a representation of anything, is with me. Do not make for yourselves silver gods or gold gods. What are they talking about? We know that there was, trying to make dragons like Moshe was commanded to. Includes other matters as well, but the literal meaning of the verse is as we have explained from the Michelita. And let's get one more for the dismount. We got 5 and 5. Now let's do it like this. The fifth prohibition is that we are forbidden from bowing down to an idol, or usage of the term idol, of course, includes serving anything. Christ, right? Anything other than Hawa. The source of this commandment is Hawa's statement, exalted be he, do not bow down to them or serve them. The phrase do not bow down to them does not mean that only bowing down is prohibited and nothing else. Rather, just one of the customary types of worship, namely bowing down, is mentioned, and the same applies to bringing an offering or incense. One who transgresses any of these bowing down, bringing a sacrifice, a wine libation, or incense is put to death by stoning. No lashes, homie, and no lashes. You start worshiping this stuff, it's a wrap. In the words of the Mechilta or Mechilta, the verse, whoever sacrifices to any deity other than Hawa alone, not with Jesus, not with Christ, alone, must be condemned to death. Teaches us the punishment, but not the prohibition itself. The Torah therefore says, do not bow down to their gods or serve them. Sacrifices are already included in the more general phrase, serve them. Why is it singled out? It is singled out to teach us that just as sacrificing is one of the ways of serving Hawa, and one is guilty whether this is the customary way of serving the idol or not, so too any similar type of service of Hawa, one is guilty whether it is a customary way or serving the idol or not. The explanation of this is that there are 4 ways in which we are required to serve exalted Hawa: bowing down, slaughtering, burning incense, and pouring a wine libation. Anyone who serves an idol in one of these 4 ways is punished with death by stoning, even if that idol is not customarily served in one of these ways. This is called lo kardaka, not in this way, i.e., even though one did not serve the idol in the way in which it is customarily served, since one served in one of these 4 ways, he is punished by stoning if he did so intentionally, and cars if the court was unaware or he wasn't punished. If he did so unintentionally, he must bring a sin offering. One who accepts anything as a god is also guilty. This prohibition against performing one of these 4 types of service, even if it is not the customary manner, has been repeated in Hawa's statement, exalted be he. The Israelites shall no longer sacrifice to Serim. In the words of Sefer, the word Serim refers to demons. Tractate Zavakim explains that this prohibition refers to one who slaughters an animal to an idol, even if the idol is not customarily served by slaughtering. Our sages said, what is the source of the law? That one who slaughters an animal to Merculis is guilty. Merculis. All right, which is customarily served by throwing rocks at it. From the verse, the Israelites shall no longer sacrifice to Serim, or these devils. Wow. If this verse is not needed to teach us the prohibition of serving the idol in the customary fashion, because we already know this from the verse. Now, how did these nations worship their gods? It must teach us about serving it in a way that which is not customary. One who transgresses this prohibition intentionally is punished by karis, or death by stoning. As we have explained, if he did so unintentionally, he must bring a sacrifice. In the words of Scripture, whoever sacrifices to any deity other than Hawa alone must be condemned to death. The details of this mitzvah have been explained in the 7th chapter of Sanhedrin. Man, we've been digging on the positive and negative commandments in this complete translation of the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, written, they say, by Moshe, Maimonides, Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, Book of Precepts. We got it before that. It was written, they said, in 1268, 1270. Well, 500 years earlier, it was written by Anan ben David. Instead of 1270, 770, he wrote the code of this order, the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot, the Book of Precepts. So whether we got the 770 drop or the 1200s drop, whether you're talking David or you're talking Moshe, as we can see, as this unravels, as we catch them slipping in the timelines, and as we know, our timelines have been shifted multiple times and dropped off multiple places. It's up to you to say, was there a different Moshe in the so-called BCs? Are there really BCs if there's no Black Christ? Uh-oh. Or are we just talking about the 700s? Or are we just talking about the 1200s? Or are we just talking about Preston John? Around the same time as the letter of Preston John in 1165. All this is about clarity. Seeing clearly. Of those that don't talk about. Are we talking about a separate energy writing at the same time as Preston John, Dawi? Or are we just talking Anan ben David? Are we just talking Anan ben David? Or are we just talking phantoms and duplications? Maimonides. I think it's all starting to add up. And you can add it up here, 248, 365, 613. Digging on the Sefer Ha-Mitzvot. And when, next time we pick up in part 2 of this series, we'll do another 5 and 5, man. Keep the water flowing. Keep the water flowing. Keep the water flowing for the tribe. Because drop nation. You already know, man, we got that water. Drop nation, you are the water. Loud, the water. The Watah, Shabbat. The one, the loud one. All praise our Creator. All praise our Creator. Y'all keep surfing the wave. 9 above the barrel. Shalom.